In the 14th century, the dialogue of St Catherine of Sienna was dictated by the saint to her secretaries during her ecstasies, in which God the Father gave her many insights into the faith and Scripture. In this episode, we listen to God the Father explaining to St Catherine the 4 torments of hell that are experienced by the souls that are damned, and the foulness of the devil. In Dialogue 222, under the subject of discretion, we read, "My daughter, the tongue is not sufficient to narrate the pain of these poor souls. There are 3 principal vices, namely, self-love, from which proceeds the second, love of reputation, and from which proceeds the third, that is, pride. What follows these are injustice and cruelty, and other filthiness and iniquitous sins. So I say to you that in hell the souls have 4 principal torments, from which proceeds all the other torments. The first is, they see themselves deprived of the vision of me, which is such pain to them, such that, were it possible, they would rather choose the fire and the tortures and torments, and to see me, than for them to be without torments and not to see me. This first pain revives in them the second, the worm of conscience, which gnaws unceasingly. The soul is deprived of me and of the conversation of the angels through her sin, and made worthy of the conversation and sight of the devils. The third pain is the vision of the devil, and this redoubles in them their every toil. As the saints exult in the sight of me, refreshing themselves with joyousness in the fruit of their toils, born for me with such abundance of love and displeasure of themselves, so does the sight of the devil revive in these wretched ones to torments, because in seeing him they know themselves more, that is to say, by their own sin they have made themselves worthy of him. And so the worm of conscience gnaws more and more, and the fire of this conscience never ceases to burn. And the sight is more painful to them because they see him in his own form, which is so horrible that the heart of man could not imagine it. And if you remember well, you know that I showed him to you in his own form for a little time, hardly a moment, and you chose, after you had returned to yourself, rather to walk on a road of fire, even until the day of judgment, than to see him again. With all that you have seen, even you do not know how horrible he is, because, by divine justice, he appears more horrible to the soul that is deprived of me, more or less according to the gravity of her sin. The 4th torment that they have is the fire. This fire burns and does not consume, for the being of the soul cannot be consumed, because it is not a material thing that fire can consume. But I, by divine justice, have permitted the fire to burn them with torments, so that it torments them without consuming them with the greatest pains in diverse ways according to the diversity of their sins, to some more and to some less, according to the gravity of their fault. Out of these 4 torments issue all others, such as cold and heat, and gnashing of teeth, and many others. Now, because they did not amend themselves after the first reproof that they had of injustice and false judgment, and neither in the second, which was that in death they would not hope in me, nor grieve for the offence done to me, but only for their own pain. Thus they have so miserably received eternal punishment.